If a bug escapes exception handler and crashes the application, it is a nightmare for programmers. And we are going to see one today. Hello and welcome to Code with Czar. I'm Czar. How are you doing? This is a bug study series. I want to show you the bugs from real projects, give them some analysis, see how they developed, and hopefully give you some tools and ideas to identify them and avoid them. Our first bug appears like it escapes exception handler, but actually caused by not using async await correctly. Let's dive in. Today's example code is easy to understand. The main method calls into A calls into B calls into generate string delay for a bit and then throws an exception. The exception is expected to be handled in method B, and then method B returns a string, which will then be returned by method A and eventually be printed out in the main method. All these methods are asynchronous methods. Let me set up a breakpoint and start the debugging. We have a main calls into method A calls into method B, and then method B calls into generate string async. The generate string async will delay 200 milliseconds and then throw this something's wrong evaluate operation exception, which is called by method B, and method B instead, after outputting the text saying something went wrong. This is a message that will be returned to method A and then got returned back to main. The main will output it on the console, as you can see here, and that's pretty much it. Now I'll show you step by step how is this bug introduced. It actually starts with an observation. If you pay attention to this, method A and method B has the exact same return type, and it is task string. That means the caller, the main method, is expecting method A to return something. The callee, method B in this case, happens to return. That means method A could be simplified. Now I'll create a new method here so that we can compare them side by side. Here, method B async returns a task string, which is the return type of method A relay B async. And since it's the exact same type, I can update the code in the main method to use the new method A relay B async. There's no problem here, and we can run the code to see the result. As you can see, something went wrong, still returned, and it will be the final result. For the next 1 minute, I'm going to show you the difference in between method A that awaits method B and the method A that relays method B. This is not a topic about asynchronous programming, so I'm not going to go too deep. What I want to show you here is how to figure out these differences by yourself, and that is decompile the code. Here, I'm bringing up the decompiled code within ILSpy, and the trick is to view the code in the previous version of C# that doesn't fully support the language feature. In C# 1.0, there's no support for asynchronous programming. That will reveal us how the language feature got implemented. For example, method A relay B async here is a plain method that returns the method B async directly. While method A async, well, it creates an object of a state machine, sets the initial state, and starts it. So that's the difference. Async await generates a state machine, and the other is a plain method. Okay, come back to our code. Let's resume the journey of bug development. Now keep digging into the code. We'll soon notice the return type of method B and the return type of generate string async falls into the same category. So let's apply the same change. We get rid of the async here and remove the await. Because we removed async, the return type changed from string to task string. Then we'll need to update the return type in the catch statement as well. Let's review the code. The generated string async throws an exception after a little bit wait, and it will be caught here, and then something went wrong will be returned. Let's run the code. Ooh, there is an unhandled exception in main method. Pay attention to two things here. One is the message something is wrong, and that is the exception message from the generated string. Another thing is the call stack. There are only two interesting frames. One is on line 47, another is on line 12. Line 12 here is where unhandled exception happens. Line 47 is actually generate string throws exception. All these other methods, like method A and method B in the middle, they aren't even on the call stack. Now let's take a look at why method B stops catching the exception. The generate string async is returned as a task directly by method B async. So the task will be dispatched. But since this is not a state machine, it will not coming back and resume the execution. Only the reference of the task is returned back to A, which in turn returned to main. And the main here is a state machine, so the task will resume here. And since the task sets the exception, it is thrown here on the await in main method. And that is the bug. It looks like the exception escaped the exception handler. It is actually because we didn't resume the execution of tasks in the right place. Alright, with that resolved, let's take a look at an exercise. Can you tell what is the potential issue for this piece of code? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please press the like button if you do, to give me some motivation to keep the topic. Subscribe if you don't want to miss the next one. Leave a comment if you have questions or anything like that. Keep coding, keep improving. And I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, take care.